The outer mind of man is necessary to man's salvation, yet it is the snare that prevents men and women from entering into oneness with the one within, the inner being. The function of the outer mind is not to attempt to direct the affairs of men and women, for it is rightly established as a channel through which the one within may direct all things on the material planes. As an open window for the inner being, the outer mind is perfect. That outer mind which is tranquil and one-pointedly centered in the one within is an open window through which the glories and powers of the inner being may shine forth into the world in perfect service to mankind. Lloyd A. Meeker. At the bottom there is but one subject of study, the mind. All other subjects may be reduced to that, all other studies. Bring us back to this study. Henri Amiel. The mind is the master over every kind of fortune. It acts in both ways, being the cause of its own happiness and its own misery. Seneca. It continues to be men's and women's self-centered misuse of their faculty of mind that is solely responsible for the tribulation affecting the entire world population. Nothing else. Not until men and women are willing to acknowledge that the tribulation is a direct consequence of their continued self-centered misuse of their minds is there any possibility of humanity's survival. Life has designed the human body-mind complex to function as an instrument, much like a radio or television, where the invisible signal from a broadcasting station is converted into sound and pictures. Similarly, the human body-mind complex translates the invisible signal from the universal broadcasting station into the multidimensional, multimedia living system we call creation. This universal broadcasting station signal is the all-knowing, everywhere present, all-powerful, and unfathomable radiant source energy responsible for designing, initiating, animating, and controlling all creation. When the signal conversion equipment, the human body-mind complex, is used as originally intended, and nothing interferes with the incoming signal, the outward manifestation of that signal will produce the intended creative effect. The human body-mind complex serves as the equipment through which the invisible becomes visible. The unmanifest manifests, symbolically described in the Bible as the Word made flesh. Symbolic language has been utilized throughout recorded history to illustrate the natural process by which the invisible becomes visible and the unmanifest manifests. A notable example is the phrase, "the Word made flesh," which symbolizes this natural process. The birth of Jesus in the Bible represents this natural phenomenon of the invisible becoming visible, where the Word or Spirit takes physical form. Jesus' life exemplified the flawless operation of this natural process in a person's life when they stop interfering with and misappropriating the radiant source energy, the incoming signal, to satisfy all their self-serving wants and desires, thereby revealing the way. Misinterpretations of this symbolic language have led to significant misunderstandings and confusion about this natural process for those seeking the truth. The term natural refers to something that exists in nature or arises from natural causes, rather than something created or influenced by humans. There is no doubt that humans have interfered with these natural processes for a long time, producing the mind-made world, the human nature paradigm, which now substitutes for the original creation. American-born spiritual teacher Vernon Howard stated, "It is man's frantic insistence upon substitutes which releases the flood of folly upon the earth. It has been and continues to be men's and women's insistence on interfering with life's naturally unfolding processes, with the incoming signal that prevents them from entering into oneness with the one within, the inner being. Each person has a unique part to play in life's grand design. We are all responsible for letting the incoming signal flow in and through us unadulterated, ensuring that nothing interferes with the purity of the incoming signal as it is expressed. When the radiant source energy, the incoming signal, is not interfered with and misappropriated, all aspects of creation remain in harmony, maintaining a continuous state of oneness throughout the entire living system. However, the consequences are always destructive when men and women misdirect and misuse the radiant source energy to animate their self-serving wants and desires. The dire situation in evidence worldwide results from men and women stealing and misusing the radiant creative force to satisfy their self-serving, self-centered purposes. This colossal theft is the root cause of all the pain, suffering, and confusion that has plagued humanity for countless ages. This foundational information will provide a solid base for your journey of inner transformation and self-discovery. This foundational information will serve as a touchstone, helping to keep you psychologically grounded as you navigate your ever-changing and treacherous inner terrain. It will provide the essential knowledge to initiate the profound inner process of renewing your mind. The renewal of the mind is a creative process, and like all life-directed creative processes, there are immutable natural laws that must be followed to achieve the desired outcome. The mind-made world renewed. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good, acceptable, and the perfect will of God. Romans 12:2. To gain insight into the timeless teachings of Romans 12:2, consider the 5 questions listed below. These questions are designed to help you understand the necessary steps to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Remember, achieving an intellectual understanding is merely the starting point. It must be followed by diligently applying what you have learned in your daily life, moment by moment. Before we start considering Romans 12:2, the following quotes emphasize the importance of applying what you have learned to your daily life. Let us put the ideas of our mind just as we put the things of the laboratory to the test of experience. John Locke. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed indeed. James 1:22, 23, 24, 25. He who learns the rules of wisdom without conforming to them in his life is like a man who labors in his field, but did not sow. Sadi, question 1. To whom is Romans 12:2 addressed? Romans 12:2 speaks to earnest individuals who sincerely wish to embody what is good, acceptable, and in harmony with the perfect will of God in their lives. These men and women are prepared to let go of all well-ingrained preconceived notions and prove through personal experience what truly represents doing the perfect will of God. They have resolved to no longer let their limited human intellect direct their actions or define their understanding of life in terms of good and evil, right and wrong. They have ceased judging, creating space in their consciousness for the perfect will of God to be experienced and revealed. The timeless instruction to judge not is one of the fundamental laws of being that must be followed by those seeking the renewing of their minds. Renewing one's mind is a creative process that, like all life-directed creative processes, requires strict adherence to the eternal laws of being that govern it. Question 2. What do the words "this world" refer to? The phrase "this world" refers to the mind-made, seemingly real psychological construct that currently permeates the minds of all humanity, resembling the virtual world depicted in the movie The Matrix. This psychological construct evolved due to the repeated misappropriation of the incoming signal, the radiant source energy, by men and women seeking to satisfy all their self-serving wants and desires. In this process, they created the nightmarish, earthly environment that now encircles the entire globe. The timeless story of Adam and Eve's self-expulsion from a paradisiacal garden warns of the grave consequences of human manipulation and misuse of the incoming signal, the radiant source energy, the ghastly mind-made world. This world that we see today is the result of countless generations of men and women ignoring this warning and misusing their inherent creative capacity to shape an external environment that satisfies all their self-centered wants and desires. Question 3. What does "and be not conformed to this world" mean? Born into this world, your current sense of identity and understanding of what constitutes reality have been shaped to conform to this world's pernicious patterns of thought and emotion. Consequently, this world is all you have ever known. Most of humanity will remain conformed to this world's pernicious patterns of thought and emotion from cradle to grave, unconsciously perpetuating the familiar, time-worn toxic patterns of thought and emotion passed down from one slumbering generation to the next for countless ages. To clarify what defines a toxic pattern of thought and emotion, the following terms will assist you in recognizing these toxic patterns and their influence on your behavior, what you think, feel, say, and do. Furthermore, each term in this list identifies and names a specific character trait of the impostor self that is now masquerading as you. These traits include resentment, fearfulness, hatefulness, sadness, blame, rage, vanity, worry, wantonness, hypocrisy, jealousy, rash judgment, envy, vengeance, accusation, thieving, covetousness, criticism, false pride, laziness, lying, condemnation, despondency, anger, defensiveness, hostility, impatience, desperation, shame, unforgivingness, apathy, pretense, stubbornness, meanness, self-pity, depression, selfishness, deceitfulness, sulking, self-righteousness, panic, and more. These toxic patterns of thought and emotion form the psychological foundation upon which this world has been built, individually and collectively. No one is exempt. We were all born into this world. Consequently, we have all been painted with the same toxic psychological brush. These toxic patterns of thought and emotion live within the subconscious aspect of the mind and vary from person to person, in terms of presence and intensity. Your personal collection of these toxic patterns of thought and emotion now lives within you as you. Your personal collection of character traits has combined synergistically, resulting in the creation of the impostor self, which you now mistakenly believe is you. The grand illusion of thinking that the impostor self is you has remained unrealized by countless earnest truth seekers. Swiss philosopher and poet Henri Amiel saw through this grand illusion, asserting, "Nothing is more hidden from us than the illusion which lives with us day by day. And our greatest illusion is to believe that we are what we think ourselves to be. Believing that we are what we think ourselves to be is the snare, a deeply ingrained psychological illusion that prevents men and women from entering into oneness with the one within, the inner being. Men and women's self-centered, willful expression of these pernicious mindsets have replaced the perfect will of God in their lives. The disastrous consequences of this ongoing substitution are now evident worldwide. God, the radiant source energy, does not impose his will on humanity. Each person is free to choose which master they will serve. You can continue to let the impostor self direct your life, thereby remaining conformed to this world. Or you can open yourself to the ever-present, radiant expression of the perfect will of God. The choice is yours. Choose ye this day whom ye will serve. Joshua 24:15. Keep it simple. Not conforming to this world means you no longer allow your behavior, what you think, feel, say, and do, to be directed by the impostor self that is now masquerading as you. Question 4. What does the perfect will of God mean? As I prepared to start writing, an unexpected series of events unfolded. I sat at my desk to contemplate the meaning of the perfect will of God. I waited for inspiration to begin writing, but nothing came. I took my dog and loyal companion Stuart for a long walk. Upon returning home, I found a new email from a man who had been reading and applying the information and instructions from the book, The Epic Inner Journey, The Choice is Yours, a trilogy. Nathan's timely email succinctly explained the meaning of the perfect will of God. He wrote, "There is a profound and wiser source of intelligence beyond our ego that can guide our lives and actions if we open ourselves to it. This source energy is the essence of our being and authentic self, which underlies and flows through all things." With truth and light, Nathan. Nathan's email further reinforced the understanding that the perfect will of God, the incoming signal, the radiant source energy, is ever present, flowing in and through all things. This source energy will guide our lives and actions when we choose to open ourselves, letting God's perfect will manifest in our lives every moment. Place yourself in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which animates all whom it floats, and you are without effort impelled to truth, to right, and a perfect contentment. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Every instrument and tool, if it does that for which it has been made, is well, and yet he who made it is not there. But the things which are put together by nature, there abides in them the power which made them. Therefore, the more correct it is to reverence this power. Think that if you live and act according to its will, everything in you is in harmony with its intelligence. Marcus Aurelius. Nothing has separated us from God but our own will, or rather our own will, is our separation from God. All the disorder, corruption, and maladies of our nature lie in a fixedness of our own will, imagination, and desires, wherein we live to ourselves, our own center and circumference, act wholly from ourselves, according to our own will, imagination, and desires. There is not the smallest degree of evil in us, but what arises from this selfishness, because we are thus all in all to ourselves. William Law. It is always with us, but there must be an opening of the heart to it, and although it is always there, yet it is only felt and found by those who are attentive to it, depend upon it, and humbly wait for it. William Law. The choice is a simple one. The way we express ourselves in any given moment through our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions is governed and directed by either the impostor self, which is currently masquerading as you, or the inner being, the authentic self, as noted by Nathan. The authentic self, the inner being, is eternally one with the radiant source energy, God, the all that is. Only through our perfect letting can the perfect will of God be realized on earth. Question 5. God, the all that is. To clarify any potential misunderstandings, this workbook defines God as all that is. Traditionally, God is viewed as an inscrutable deity, something to be worshipped from a distance and regarded as separate from ourselves. This deep-seated subconscious pattern of belief maintains the illusion that God is separate from oneself. This long-held pattern of belief constitutes the fundamental self-deception at the core of people's inability to break free from the domination of the impostor self, now masquerading as you. As long as the belief in separation, seeing oneself as distinct from God, remains embedded in the outer mind, it will continue to act as a snare that prevents men and women from entering into oneness with the inner being, the authentic self, which is eternally one with God, the all that is, the infinite. You ask, how can we know the infinite? I answer, not by reason. It is the office of reason to distinguish and define. The infinite, therefore, cannot be ranked among its objects. You can only apprehend the infinite by a faculty superior to reason, by entering into a state in which you are your finite self, no longer in which the divine essence is communicated to you. This is ecstasy. It is the liberation of your mind from its finite consciousness. Plotinus. Experiencing a state of oneness with the inner being involves the renewing of your mind, specifically the subconscious aspect, often referred to as the heart or emotional realm. This renewal process requires you to intentionally let go of all the pernicious mindsets, the imposter self-character traits, that currently occupy the subconscious aspect of your mind. By doing this, you let the radiant source energy, i.e., the perfect will of God, flow freely instead of being stolen and misused by the willful actions of the imposter self that is now masquerading as you. The process of renewing the outer mind. To avoid any misunderstandings as we move forward, the following terms will be defined as follows. Process, a series of actions or steps to achieve a particular end. Renewing, to make something new again, to restore to its original condition. Outer mind. The outer mind of man is necessary to man's salvation, yet it is the snare that prevents men and women from entering into oneness with the one within, the inner being, The function of the outer mind of man is not to attempt to direct the affairs of men and women, for it is rightly established as a channel through which the one within may direct all things on the material planes. As an open window for the inner being, the outer mind is perfect. That outer mind, which is tranquil and one-pointedly centered in the one within, is an open window through which the glories and powers of the inner being may shine forth into the world in perfect service to mankind. Lloyd A. Meeker. To successfully renew the mind, it is essential to understand how the outer mind of man was originally designed to function. Without this foundational knowledge, taking the necessary actions to support the renewal process becomes impossible. Although the actions required to renew the outer mind of man are straightforward, they must be followed precisely to achieve a complete renewal of one's mind. The outer mind of man serves as the open window, the mechanism through which the invisible becomes visible and the unmanifest manifests. The outer mind of man is the instrument through which the inner being, the authentic self, expresses itself on earth. The inner being, or the authentic self, is eternally one with God, the all that is. Thus, the perfect will of God and the outward expression of the inner being, the authentic self, are eternally one. Every human being, whether from the present or the past, has an inner being, the source of their life, residing within them. The inner being is unaffected by the destructive actions of the impostor self now masquerading as you, regardless of how wayward the impostor self's actions may be. The key point to remember is that the inner being remains unaffected by the impostor self's wayward behavior, which singularly makes the renewing of your mind possible. It is impossible for the outer mind of man to renew itself. The outer mind of man, the limited human intellect, all on its own, distorts the incoming signal and cannot create anything new, let alone renew itself. At most, it can only rearrange the deep-seated pernicious patterns of thought and emotion stored in the subconscious mind, which have been passed down from previous generations. At present, it provides you with a false sense of self, masquerading as you, and a severely distorted view of the true nature of reality. The problem is never how to get new innovative thoughts into your mind, but how to get the old ones out. Every mind is a building filled with archaic furniture. Clean out a corner of your mind, and creativity will instantly fill it. D. Hawk recognized that to experience a state of newness, he first needed to clean out the old archaic thoughts and feelings occupying his mind. Once the old furniture was intentionally discarded, let go, creativity would immediately fill that space. This creativity that fills the outer mind of man is the ever-present, radiant expression of the inner being, the authentic self, overseeing and gently guiding everything you think, feel, say, and do in each moment. Remember, the term renewing means to make something new again, or to restore it to its original state. Restoring and renewing the mind to its original state is an all-or-nothing process. The laws of being that govern this creative process are absolute and not subject to the delusive imaginings of the wayward human intellect. The intricate inner workings of life's natural healing processes far exceed our ability to comprehend them fully. Nevertheless, humans persist in interfering, believing that their knowledge and technical expertise surpass those of nature. The dire consequences of blindly accepting and acting on that misguided belief are evident. Humanity continues its downward death spiral, growing increasingly sick physically, psychologically, and spiritually, further separating itself from life's grand design. As we continue to explore our responsibility in stewarding the transformational process of renewing the mind, it will become clear that what is required for progress along the way is your ongoing willingness, step by step, to let go and discard all the toxic psychological clutter that currently pollutes the subconscious aspect of your mind. At the same time, as you let go of the clutter without any further action, be still and let the natural healing processes enfold you. Letting the renewal of your mind unfold naturally while remaining still and unmoved by any pressing thoughts or emotions. Renewing the mind is like healing a cut on a finger. To restore the finger to its original condition, we must first clean the wound to facilitate proper healing. In this analogy, the first step is to clean the wound. Neglecting this step will hinder the healing process. Similarly, when renewing the mind, it is essential first to clean out or let go of the toxic mental and emotional states before the renewal process can begin. Unlike a cut on a finger, which can easily be examined to identify what needs to be cleaned from the wound, toxic mental and emotional states are invisible to the naked eye and cannot be directly observed. All thoughts and feelings are ephemeral and have no independent life. The only thing that gives them any alleged validity or life is your continued identification with and belief in them. They have no power in and of themselves to harm and control you. At any time, you have the power and authority to deliberately discard, let go, all those thoughts and feelings recognized as damaging and non-essential to your well-being and the well-being of others. The Epic Inner Journey, a trilogy, Volume 1. The first step in renewing your mind is to stop interfering with the renewal process. Interference occurs when you carelessly let your life, what you think, feel, say, and do, be controlled by deeply ingrained, deleterious patterns of thought and emotion, the impostor self-character traits. And these death-dealing patterns currently provide you with a very convincing false sense of self, security, and guidance, which, to your detriment and that of others, you have mistakenly identified with and assumed to be you. As mentioned earlier, it is impossible for the outer mind of man to renew itself. The function of the outer mind is not to direct the lives of men and women, but was established as a channel through which the one within, the inner being, the authentic self, may direct all things on the material planes, including the renewing of the outer mind of men and women. The contemporary psychological approach to renewing the mind, often referred to as self-improvement, entails dedicating significant time and resources to uncovering and understanding the hidden aspects of one's subconscious mind. This process frequently includes the use of various psychotropic drugs in an attempt to alleviate pain and suffering, or to find someone or something to blame for the challenges we encounter. However, this method proves ineffective and destined to fail when individuals allow their outer mind, their human intellect, to guide the renewal process. This reflects yet another futile attempt by the outer mind at self-renewal. The world's dire condition arises from countless generations who have become ensnared in the deeply ingrained and misleading belief that the outer mind can direct the essential processes required to renew the mind and improve their circumstances. So far in our investigation into renewing the mind, we have discussed the topic in general terms. It's time to shift our focus to a more personal level. On an individual basis, you need to take what you have learned herein and apply it to your daily life, moment by moment, to the best of your ability. Start from where you are and move forward step by step, focusing on the prize ahead and not looking back. The prize awaiting you is a renewed mind, purified and free from all the toxic mental and emotional baggage you have mistakenly identified with throughout your life and have believed to be you. This inner renewal is the most magnificent gift you will ever receive. It is time for you to reclaim your birthright as an active, participating member in the body of the all that is. As Walt Whitman so beautifully put it, you have not known what you are. You have slumbered upon yourself all your life. Whoever you are, claim your own. To start the process of renewing your mind, there are two fundamental questions you need to answer. With honest self-introspection, the answer to these questions will become clear. This is not a matter to be taken lightly, as though you were playing an intriguing parlor game. How you answer these questions and choose to respond thereafter will determine your life's trajectory from that moment forward. At the individual level, some of these impostor self-character traits have combined to create the seemingly real imaginary character, the impostor self, which is now masquerading as you. The Swiss philosopher Henri Amiel, 1821 to 1881, revealed this grand illusion. Nothing is more hidden from us than the illusion which lives with us day by day, and our greatest illusion is to believe that we are what we think ourselves to be. This grand illusion is the snare that has effectively ensnared men and women for countless millennia in a mind-made psychological prison of their own making. At this moment, you stand at a crucial crossroads in your epic inner journey of self-discovery, and now and in the future. The questions are, who is currently directing your life? Is it the imposter self now masquerading as you, or is it the inner being, the authentic self? Rest assured, there are still many imposter self-character traits lying just below the surface of your conscious awareness that have yet to be identified. It is these unidentified imposter self-character traits that are the root cause of all your ongoing psychological pain and suffering, directly influencing what you think, feel, say, and do. Nothing else. The one-way path. All imposter self-character traits must be purged from your psychic system to permanently eliminate these deeply rooted psychological parasites, the pernicious patterns of thought and emotion that are responsible for draining the life out of you. There is only one effective method, the one-way path. The one-way path represents the true path that perfectly aligns with and embodies life's way. The one-way path requires you to maintain a clear and open channel, so the inner being, the authentic self, can continue to guide the renewal process, free from interference from the imposter self, now masquerading as you. For the imposter self, the one-way path poses a deadly threat to its formerly unchallenged parasitic existence. By eliminating these psychological parasites from your psychic system, you gradually weaken the stranglehold of the imposter self. Through consistent inner work, you can eliminate the death-dealing influence of the imposter self from your life. The complete removal of all impostor self-character traits from the outer mind is synonymous with the complete renewal of the outer mind. Restoring the outer mind to its original state is an all-or-nothing process governed by the eternal laws of being, the unchanging principles that maintain a perpetual state of harmony throughout life's grand design. As the steward of the renewal process, your primary responsibility is to ensure that the outer mind remains a clear and open channel through which the powers and glories of the one within, the inner being, can guide all aspects of your daily life. The only way to ensure that the outer mind remains a clear and open channel is by fully committing to the one-way path exercise outlined below. The one-way path exercise is the ultimate solution for eliminating all pernicious mindsets currently interfering with the radiant expression of the inner being, the authentic self. Like any skill you aim to master, the one-way path exercise is no different. You must study to understand the method and then practice it. You need not fancy it is impossible to regulate your life in accordance with abstract ideas and maxims. The first thing to do is to understand the rule. The second thing is to learn the practice of it. The theory may be understood at once by an effort of reason, and yet the practice of it acquired only in the course of time. Arthur Schopenhauer. The beauty and effectiveness of the one-way path exercise lies in its simplicity. In this one way is certain and absolute success, no matter who the person is, no matter what he has or has not done, and no matter where he is or is not. This way works for the bond and the free, for the poor and for the rich, for it is no respecter of persons. It cannot be purchased with money, nor can worldly position or fame secure it. A college education is no help in finding it, and lack of so-called education is no hindrance. It cannot be secured through the power of intellect, and is available to all of simple ways and means. He who tries to gain it in order to achieve some end or reward will surely fail, even though the reward that is sought is the kingdom of heaven. Lloyd A. Meeker. This exercise consists of 3 steps that establish a clear, open channel for the inner being, the authentic self, to express freely into the world when combined and executed in the correct sequence. In the proper order, the 3 steps are as follows. 1. Identify and name. 2. Letting go. And 3. Letting. As you practice these 3 steps, they will blend into one unified movement. The primary purpose of the one-way path exercise is twofold. 1. To initiate the restorative process through which men and women can experience a state of perfect oneness with the inner being, the authentic self. 2. To establish a permanent, open channel through which the radiant expression of the inner being, the authentic self, can flow freely into the world without interference from the impostor self that is now masquerading as you. The only way to achieve these 2 objectives is to fully commit to applying the 3 steps of the one-way path exercise to your daily life, starting now. Step 1. Identify and name. To avoid misunderstandings, it is essential to clarify the meanings of the terms identify and name. Identify, to establish or make a determination on the nature of someone or something. Name, a word or set of words by which a person or thing is known, addressed, or referred to. Please take a moment to review the names of the impostor self-character traits listed in question 3 on page 6, making sure you fully understand what each name represents psychologically. You may recognize these names but not realize that many of these impostor self-character traits are currently part of your psychological makeup. Each trait has a unique psychological signature that will enable you to quickly identify and differentiate one trait from another. For example, worry's psychological signature differs from vanity's, each possessing a distinct emotional component that influences your behavior, affecting what you think, feel, say, and do. The most direct way to determine who is currently directing your life, whether it is the imposter self now masquerading as you or the authentic self, is to observe your behavior impartially, without judgment, as if you were watching someone else. When you see any of the imposter self-character traits functioning within you, compelling you to behave destructively, this is your grand opportunity in that moment to put a permanent stop to its death-dealing influence. Swedish-born philosopher Emanuel Swedenborg, 1688 to 1772, referred to the imposter self as an enemy in his writings, emphasizing that identifying this enemy is essential for achieving victory. He stated, "No one can conquer an enemy without coming in sight of him. You stop the tyrannical reign of the imposter self, the enemy, by no longer allowing your behavior, what you think, feel, say, and do, to be under its control, whereas before you lived in a state of inner darkness, feeling lost and confused, unable to understand or see the cause of all your psychological pain and suffering. Now you realize it has been the imposter self all along and nothing else. Now, having identified the imposter self as the root cause of all your pain and suffering, you have a life-altering choice to make. You can continue to surrender control of your life to the demands of the imposter self, who is now masquerading as you, or you can take the necessary steps to reclaim your life, as discussed in this workbook. Ultimately, you will be as free as you let yourself be. As always, the choice is yours. The great mystery to me is how I could have been asleep to all this for so many years. I can now see what finally happened. I simply refuse to go along with my old and agonizing life any longer. Vernon Howard, Step 2, Letting Go. Hoarding Buried Alive is a television program that features individuals who compulsively collect and accumulate vast amounts of items often considered junk in their homes. In many cases, this clutter is piled from floor to ceiling. These individuals experience intense distress at the thought of letting go of their possessions. More often than not, they continue to tenaciously hold on to their hoard, even though this degenerative behavior puts their lives and the lives of others in mortal danger. The parallels between this television program and the perilous situation we observe worldwide are strikingly similar. Both hoarders and men and women around the globe demonstrate an unwillingness to let go of the psychological junk that threatens to undermine their very existence. This psychological junk consists of the toxic patterns of thought and emotion within each individual, influencing their behavior, what they think, feel, say, and do as they navigate daily life. These destructive patterns have been carelessly passed down from one unsuspecting generation to the next for countless centuries. This is the root cause of the grim situation we face today. Nothing else. For the outward world is but a glass mirror, a representation of the inward, and everything and variety of things in temporal nature must have its root or hidden cause in something that is more inward. William Law. The hidden cause in something that is more inward. Law refers to the toxic patterns of thought and emotion that have remained hidden and unobserved, currently providing you with a very convincing false sense of self, security, and direction, along with a highly distorted view of the true nature of reality. Once seen, you must be willing to let go of these hidden causes, all the psychological junk you have accumulated. What you are letting go of are the psychological parasites that have been the hidden cause of all your confusion, pain, and suffering. There is no need to struggle or fight with these psychological parasites. They will gradually dissolve into the nothingness from whence they came when you stop struggling with them and stop giving them your attention. Remember, there is nothing to figure out, there is only something to see. The famous Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy counseled, "If men who do not understand life would only approach nearer to the phantoms that alarm them and would examine them, they would see that they are only phantoms and not reality." Your primary responsibility is to identify and name, as outlined in Step 1, the impostor self-character traits, the toxic patterns of thought and emotion, as they arise in your consciousness, no longer permitting these psychological parasites to influence or dictate what you think, feel, say, and do. By doing this, you create an open channel, free from interference, letting the creative, life-restoring radiance of the authentic self flow uninterrupted into the world, as long as you remain dedicated and willing to let it be so. Step 3. Letting. For whilst in one sense we give up self to live the universal, an absolute life of reason, yet that to which we thus surrender ourselves is, in reality, our truer self. The life of absolute truth or reason isn't a life. That is foreign to us. It is above us. It is also within us. In yielding to it, we are not submitting to an outward and arbitrary law or to an external authority, but to a law that has become our own law, an authority which becomes enthroned in the inmost essence of our being. John Caird. Man stands in strict connection with a higher fact never yet manifested. There is a power over and behind us, and we are the channels of its communication. Ralph Waldo Emerson. In the beginning, a perfect state of union existed between the human being and the inner being. The human being was designed as the instrument, the body-mind complex, through which the inner being could guide the ongoing creative processes related to planet Earth. For the human race, letting was natural and effortless. At that time, nothing within the human psyche interfered with the radiant, life-promoting expression of the inner being, the authentic self. This unfettered letting by humanity created a paradisiacal state often referred to as the Garden of Eden. However, that changed when men and women decided they were more qualified to determine how life's grand design should unfold. By doing so, they initiated a destructive cycle, gradually distancing themselves further from the source of their lives. Since that fateful day, men and women have continued to attempt, through their misappropriation and stealing of source energy to fashion a substitute world that satisfies all their self-centered wants and desires. The dreadful situation currently evident worldwide is a direct result of men and women's unwillingness to let go of their toxic mental and emotional baggage. Only by first letting go of our toxic psychological baggage and then demonstrating a willingness to letting the perfect will of God flow in and through us can the renewal of our mind and the restoration of our consciousness truly be realized. The pygmy human intellect cannot renew itself. The most it can do is endlessly rearrange the old furniture, the time-worn, pernicious pattern of thought and emotion passed from one generation of lost and confused men and women to the next. The one-way path. Exercise is the only course of action that can effectively facilitate the renewal process and ensure the complete restoration of the outer mind. There is no other way. The only thing that can interfere with you applying the one-way path exercise is if you heedlessly continue to listen to and act on the whispering of the impostor self that is now masquerading as you. Choose you this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:15. The glorious prize is at hand, freely given to all who choose wisely. As always, the choice is yours. Stay the path, victory is certain.